Imagine stepping onto Mars and finding traces of ancient life. Is this just science fiction, or could it become a reality? We examine the latest scientific discoveries that hint at the possibility of life on Mars, and discuss what it could mean for humanity's future. We also haven't discovered any life forms or fossils on the red planet, which leads many people to believe that there might be life on Mars. And if there is life on Mars, what kind of life is it? If there is life on Mars, it would have to be very different than life on Earth. Perhaps there are creatures that can survive without oxygen, such as the tardigrades that we know can survive in the vacuum of space. Or maybe there are creatures that can survive on very little water, like the desert animals here on Earth. Maybe there are creatures that can survive the cold temperatures on Mars, like the polar bears. The average surface temperature on Mars is -63 degrees Celsius or -82 degrees Fahrenheit. Today we talking about life in Mars planet, and before we start, I hope you already click like this video and subscribe my channel. Okay, let's dive into the video. As we all know, humans cannot survive on Mars in its current state. The atmosphere is too thin, the temperatures are too cold, and there is no liquid water on the surface. However, humans are very adaptable, and we have the technology to change the environment of Mars so that we can live there. You would also be exposed to deadly ultraviolet radiation from the sun, which would kill you in less than 6 minutes. Although we could bring water with us from Earth, it would be very difficult to sustain ourselves indefinitely without a source of fresh water on the planet. Many of us probably dream of one day being able to set foot on Mars. But when we got there, we would soon realize that it is a very lonely place. There are no birds singing or trees swaying in the wind, just endless red sand dunes as far as the eye can see. We would need to find a way to extract water from the Martian atmosphere or to mine ice that is trapped beneath the surface. Despite these challenges, many experts believe that it is only a matter of time before humans are able to live on Mars. With more and more exploration missions planned for the red planet, we are sure to learn more about its environment and determine whether or not it is truly habitable. Finally, the low gravity on Mars would cause your muscles and bones to start breaking down within a few weeks. They argue that even though you might be able to survive on Mars for a while, your body won't be able to function properly. According to their findings, it would only take 6 months for the human body to begin shutting down. This would put a huge strain on our cardiovascular system, eventually leading to heart failure. The combination of these factors would eventually cause our immune system to shut down, leaving us vulnerable to a host of deadly diseases. The lead researcher, Professor Hansberg, said that the human body is simply not built to survive on Mars. NASA has been studying the effects of living on other planets for years. It is likely that one day we will be able to live on Mars. With continued exploration, we may one day find evidence of life on Mars, or even discover a new home for humanity. But for now, we will have to continue exploring it from afar. They know that if humans are ever going to set foot on Mars, we need to be prepared for the challenges that it will present. For example, we will need to develop new ways to generate power, grow food, and recycle water. We will also need to develop new materials that can withstand the harsh sea. Environment of Mars? One of the biggest challenges is the lack of oxygen. The thin Martian atmosphere contains only 0.13% oxygen, compared to 21% on Earth. This means that we would need to carry around oxygen tanks with us at all times. We would also need to wear special suits that would protect us from the cold, thin air, and deadly radiation. He explains that the low gravity and thin atmosphere mean that we would be constantly bombarded by cosmic radiation. This would eventually lead to our bodies not being able to function properly. Your muscles will begin to deteriorate due to the lack of gravity. Additionally, the thin Martian atmosphere means that your blood will stop carrying oxygen throughout your body effectively, causing you to suffocate slowly. Can life really exist on Mars? And if so, what form might it take? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If we are ever going to find life beyond Earth, it's likely that we will find it on Mars. If we can also learn more about the formation of other planets and perhaps even discover new resources that can help sustain life, the risks of sending humans to Mars are well worth it. Terraforming is the process of making a planet more Earth-like. We started small and grew over time. It's the same with everything in the universe. Everything starts out small and then grows over time. Even galaxies start out as just a few stars and then grow into the massive collections of stars that we see today. This would involve thickening the atmosphere of Mars, increasing the amount of carbon dioxide and adding more water vapor. When we first started, we didn't know what we were doing, but we learned from our mistakes and we kept growing. It would also involve warming up the planet and possibly even changing the tilt of its axis. So if you wanted to live on Mars, you would need a spacesuit that could keep you warm. There's so much more to learn about the universe, and we can't wait to share it with you. If we could terraform Mars, it would become a much more hospitable place for humans to live. Even if we terraformed the planet, it would still be very different from Earth, and we would need to adapt to a new environment. For example, gravity on Mars is about half of what it is on Earth. This means that we would experience a significant decrease in muscle mass and bone density. If we lived on Mars, we would also need to be careful of cosmic radiation. Since the planet has no active molten core and therefore no magnetosphere to protect its surface from cosmic rays, we could walk around outside without needing a spacesuit, and our crops would grow much more easily. We could also build permanent settlements on the planet and even establish a self-sustaining colony. The planet Mars has a thin atmosphere, so if you were to take a spacesuit off, the air would get knocked out of your lungs and you would die within 15 seconds. It would also likely be very different from life on Earth, whatever form it takes. Because of these harsh conditions, any life on Mars would have to be very different than life on Earth. It could be a completely new form of life that we are not aware of. Maybe life on Mars doesn't even need oxygen, water, or sunlight to survive. Maybe it survives on methane or ammonia. There's even the possibility that the inhabitants of Mars may not be an animal at all, but rather some form of plant life. After all, plants can survive in very harsh conditions here on Earth. Maybe there are giant plants on Mars that can photosynthesize in the thin Martian atmosphere. It is also possible that life on Mars may not be like anything we can imagine. Whatever life on Mars may be, it would definitely be very hardy and able to withstand the planet's harsh environment. Now let's talk about the possibilities of human life on Mars. One way we could do this is by terraforming the planet. The process of terraforming Mars would take centuries, if not millennia, but it is theoretically possible. However, there are many challenges that we would face if we tried to live on Mars. Another challenge we would face if we tried to live on Mars is the lack of water. Finally, we would need to be prepared for the psychological effects of living on a barren planet. It would be hard to feel connected to nature on Mars, and that could have a negative impact on our mental health. So what do you think? And now for the question that you've all been waiting for. How did the mighty have gotten so big? Well, it's simple. The reason why the mighty was able to grow so big is because we started small. And now, we're going to continue our mission to explore the unknown. According to researchers from the University of Berlin, after just 6 months on Mars, your body will begin to shut down. The researchers used computer simulations to determine the effects of living on Mars. Professor Plone also notes that the lack of oxygen on Mars would mean that we would be constantly short of breath. Although this may seem like science fiction, it's actually based on scientific fact. Despite these challenges, NASA is determined to send humans to Mars. By the year 2030, they believe that the benefits of such a mission far outweigh the risks. As we continue to learn more about the challenges of living on Mars, we will need to develop new technologies that can help us overcome them. But despite all of the challenges that lie ahead, we are excited to continue exploring Mars and learning more about this fascinating planet. With each new discovery, we learn more about the possibility of life on Mars, and who knows what we might find. And if you want to help us reach even more people, please consider supporting us. I hope you learned something new today. If you did, please like and share. Thanks for watching.